Okay, this tutorial is just going to walk you through, in case you want a kind of visual guide in addition to the written instructions. This is going to walk you through the beginning steps of the challenge. So the very first thing that I'm going to do is just go ahead and open up InDesign. And once that's open, I'm going to go to File, New Document. And we don't need to change any of the other settings in here for now, so I'm just going to click OK, which is going to give us an 8.5 by 11 inch page. And then the first thing that I'm going to do is create a rectangle shape. And so I'm going to click on the rectangle frame tool and just click. I'm going to go right along the pink and purple or whatever color your margins show up on your screen, and I'm just going to stay right in that area. And that's a good idea to just use those lines, not go outside of in this space, because not everything out here is going to print. So just something to keep in mind when you're working on the exercises. So once you've got that rectangle shape, don't worry if it's not exact. If you need to adjust it, you can always just click on the pointer tool in the toolbox and then just click and drag on the edges or on the corner. Will let you change it, make it bigger or smaller. If you go on in the middle of the boxes, you can make it taller or wider. So once you've got it the way that you want it, the next thing that we're going to do is set the color. By the way, you'll see these blue lines in here. Those actually don't print. That just helps you if you've got a lot of different, let's say we've got a bunch of different objects on the page. Once you start to have them kind of all on top of each other, it becomes hard to tell them apart. So those little lines are, again, don't print. They're just guidelines to help you be able to see where one object begins and another one ends. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just clear those out. And then I'm going to set the color. So to make sure that we're able to set the color, always click on a box to make sure that it's selected. And you can tell if it's selected if you see these little squares. If not, InDesign won't know what, even if there's only one element on the page, it won't know which element you want to make changes to. So make sure it's selected by clicking on it with the pointer tool. Then we're going to go Window, Color, Swatches. By the way, this is in CS5. If you're in CS4, I think you can just go Window Swatches. But that should bring up a menu that says Swatches. And we're just going to go ahead and use the fill to set the color of that. So fill is this little box up at the top. The one right underneath that lets you do the border, which InDesign refers to as a stroke. And once you've got that, we're just going to set it, instead of 100% to 20%. And that'll give you a lighter version, which is good if you're using color, especially behind text, because when you've got a really full 100% color, it usually competes, makes the text harder to read. So we're going to have this 20%. And then the next thing I'm going to do is just set the stroke of the box, which is again controlled by this other little box at the top of the swatches menu, to red. Now don't panic if you don't see it, because it is a real thin line still. So what I'm going to do is just go to preview for a second to show you this is what we'd actually get right now if we were going to print. But always remember, when you look in preview to see what you've got so far, make sure to go back to the normal view to do the work. Otherwise, you won't be able to see a lot of the commands and things that you'll need to see to do the steps. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is go to Window and choose Stroke. And we're going to make this a heavier line. So I'm going to make it 10 points instead of 1. And also, under Type, if you click and hold down, you get a menu. And I'm going to make that thick thin. Okay, and then the next step here is going to be just to round the corners. So if you go to Object, Corner Options, and choose Rounded, again by clicking and holding down. And I'm going to set it for 2 points, just so it's not real subtle, but a little bit more than 1. So once you do it in the first box, it should automatically set the rest. So now if you look in Preview, we've got these rounded edges instead of just regular square edges. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and leave you at this particular step. I think it's about 2021, step number 21 on your instructions, but hopefully that gave you a good start with the challenge.